All right. Hello and welcome everyone to the Unearth Story Indiana's Amazing Caves webinar. My name's Beth Yates. I'm the children's consultant from the Indiana State Library's Professional Development Office. I'll be your host and your question moderator today. And today I'm really excited to welcome Carla Striegel-Winner, who joins us today in her role as the Outreach and Education Chair for the Indiana Karst Conservancy. Carla is also a member of the Indiana Cave Survey, the National Speleological Society, and the Evansville Metro Grotto in her spare time, all while acting as the director for a local government agency in Southwest Indiana. I asked Carly here so she can help us understand more about what is under our feet in Indiana as you all begin planning Unearth a Story themed programs this summer. Because remember, Unearth can be way more than dinosaurs. We didn't have dinosaurs. Well, we may have had dinosaurs, but we don't have any fossils of dinosaurs in Indiana. How about something we do have, which is caves, right? So before we start, though, I have just a couple more announcements. First of all, to register for other webinars and other trainings available from the Professional Development Office, please see the Indiana State Library's events calendar, which can be found on our website at www.in.gov/library, and then it's under Services for Libraries. This session is 1 hour, so you're eligible to receive 1 LEU for this presentation. If you're watching a recording of this webinar, instructions on how to obtain your LEU are in the video's description on YouTube, or you can find those instructions on the Indiana State Library's continuing education site under LEU policies. But in short, when you watch a recording, someone in administration at your library should create a certificate for you, as they're the ones who can verify that you watched. Okay, I think we're ready to get started. So please help me welcome again Carla Striegel-Winner of the Indiana Karst Conservancy. Please take it away, Carla.
Thank you, Beth, so much. And thank you so much for inviting me to do this. This is just an awesome opportunity. As Beth mentioned, I work with the Indiana Karst Conservancy, and we're going to learn a little bit more about kind of what that is. I'm sure a few of you might be a little bit familiar with that. And we're going to learn a little bit more about caves and karst in Indiana and kind of what karst means. But I'm just, again, super excited to be here. I actually work with the Indiana Karst Conservancy as a volunteer. We are a 100% volunteer organization. And so, yeah, I do have another job. So I actually work as the director of our solid waste management district in Du Bois County. So that is, a lot of recycling and waste disposal, that sort of thing. I'm sure some of you guys are very familiar with your solid waste management districts. A lot of them do education, and you may be working with them. So in addition to that, I am a super huge supporter of libraries in Indiana and our local libraries. I live in Du Bois County. And so we have the Du Bois County Contractual Library, which has 4 libraries in our county of about 35,000 folks. And then we also have Huntingburg Public Library, which is a separate library system also in our county. And they're just amazing. Love working with them and love that we have such great, vibrant libraries in our community. And I want to thank you guys for all that you do, because it's very important work. So thank you very much for being here today. Today I'm just going to go into, I packed a lot of stuff into my description, and I kind of started realizing this is big. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. So I tried to compact it down a little bit. So like Beth said, if you have questions as we go along, please, you can go ahead and pop that in the chat. And then I probably won't answer those as we go along unless Beth feels like it's something that I need to stop and answer right at that particular slide. So we'll just kind of see how that goes. And I was also having just a little bit of a issue on my little laptop here sharing my slides. So I'm in kind of a funky share mode. So you'll be able to kind of see that I'm not in the regular presentation mode, and that should be fine, no problem whatsoever. So I'm just gonna go ahead and flip to my next slide and tell you, I told you a little bit about myself already, but I just kind of want to tell you a little bit about how we're going to kind of go through this webinar. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what the IKC, or the Indiana Karst Conservancy, is, what karst is, and why we might care about it. We're going to see some cool cave pics, meaning I'm going to show you some stuff, and some of you guys, I'm sure, have been in commercial caves before, and we may even have some cavers here that go into wild caves. And then I'm going to go into resources. So I'm going to spend a good bit of time just kind of showing you some stuff. I have been on webinars before where folks try to share videos and different stuff, and like half the time it feels like it doesn't work. So I've got nothing but screenshots to show you, but I have a full resource page that I've shared with Beth that has every single link that's in the slideshow. And then, of course, you will receive the slideshow as well, as have the recording. But just on my resource page, it's basically every single link that I have in those resources. So so hopefully that'll help you just kind of get some great ideas, because I know you guys have wonderful programming ideas, and I just love to see what our local libraries come up with. So I'm super excited to see, if you guys decide to incorporate some type of programming, I would just love if you would tag the Indiana Karst Conservancy if you do a Facebook post or something like that. But I'd really love to see what you do come up with. So again, and then at the end, we will have time for comments and questions. So a little bit about the Indiana Karst Conservancy. We are a land trust in Indiana, and some of you might be familiar with the Shirley Hines Lands Trust up north. I know we got some northern folks. Sycamore Land Trust and kind of the central. The Nature Conservancy is our largest land trust in Indiana, and also is an international land trust. So land trusts are nonprofit organizations that have land holdings that are typically open to the public or open to a group of people, and it's sort of preserved land for specific things depending on what that land trust's focus is. Very similar to the way our Department of Natural Resources and our federal government also has sort of public lands. So we kind of work together with the state and federal folks to ensure that certain land is preserved for certain things. And Indiana Karst Conservancy is the only land trust in Indiana whose specific focus is caves and karst. And so we protect caves through active conservation. We don't want to have those caves just sort of sitting there and they're underground and no one can access them. So one of our big things is to make sure that cavers, folks who are experienced and go in caves, wild caves, have access to the caves that we own. So we do own several caves in the state. We have several preserves. So you can hop on our website anytime just to learn a little bit more about us. And you'll see, hopefully you should be able to see my cursor here. We're kind of a little bit different. This is the karst area of Indiana. And so all of our preserves are in the karst area. And we're going to learn a little bit more about what karst is if you're not really quite sure what that means. But so we do have 7 preserves. We do surface management on those preserves, and then we also have mainly our preserves are there because of the cave systems that are there, and then we do a lot of other great stuff too. We help some other organizations and some private landowners if they have a wild cave, and we do visitation access on those, simply because a lot of us are cavers. We go in caves, we know who other cavers are, and so we can vet those people a little bit more than, say, your typical landowner or agency. So we also help with access into private caves And we just do a lot of stuff, education stuff. We do a little bit of programming on our preserves, field tours. You usually can find that on our website. I'm a little bit behind right now. Spring is starting, and I don't have everything on the front page of our website. But if you do want to know a little bit more about the IKC and what we do, our homepage is the best place to go look at that and see, what's going on with us. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about caves and karst in a more sort of detailed and more in-person format, I would just love that. So I'm going to go ahead and pop over to the next slide here. So what is caves and karst? And yes, that is me. I do want to mention that typically cavers will wear a helmet. So I have to kind of mention that. I'm not wearing a helmet in that picture, and I should be. We were actually just on a hike, and we found a cave, and that's a new cave that had not been discovered before. And I happened to, of course, have my caving gloves and a headlamp with me, so I checked it out. But typically we would have a helmet on. So in Indiana, and I'm going to show you a couple more photos that show where caves are in Indiana. And if you live in one of those areas, you know where they are in Indiana. But if you don't, we're going to show a little bit more about that. So the weird thing about caves, okay, and we're mainly going to focus on limestone caves because that's what Indiana has a lot of, okay? Super cool. Yes, like Beth said, we don't have dinosaurs, but we've got super cool limestone with wonderful fossils in it. We've got awesome caves that has super cool wildlife in it, and even some ancient wildlife that had inhabited those caves. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that too. But first, I just kind of wanted to go over what we have in Indiana. So in Indiana, the Indiana Cave Survey, which keeps a database on wild caves in Indiana. Okay. 25 feet is sort of the length of a cave. All right. Now, you go to another state, Tennessee, for example, has thousands more caves than we do. 25 feet, they're like, that is not a cave. So, but just for sort of anything other, like if it was 15 feet long, we would call it a feature, like a karst feature. Okay. So in Indiana, there are 3,200 sort of documented caves. All right. Now, these are not all caves that people would want to go into. Some of them are just like a little hole in the ground, goes a few feet, and that's it. Over 4,200 entrances. So some caves have more than one entrance to them because they are a system. And then I mentioned those features. So that might be just a small hole that somebody found and documented that, but it's not considered an actual cave. And then so caves are surveyed when cavers find them through a mapping process, which is a whole nother thing I'm not going to get into, but it's also super cool. Also some programming ideas with that kind of thing, but I'm not going to get into that. The longest cave in Indiana is the Binkley Cave System. So it's 46 miles that they've mapped, and they're finding new stuff all the time. So Binkley is in Harrison County in southern Indiana, and it also happens to be one small portion of that cave is Indiana Caverns, one of our commercial caves. And I'm going to talk about our commercial caves a little bit farther into the talk as well. Okay, so and again, yes, sandstone counts. We can have sandstone caves. We would consider it a cave if it, was more than 25 feet in depth. I'm sorry, inside. But in Indiana, we're mainly talking about limestone, and that limestone is sort of the karst. So in Indiana, the karst that is at the surface. So karst is basically limestone topography. And if you're not that familiar with it, limestone is sort of the grayish stone that tends to have fossils in it. A lot of our in southern Indiana, a lot of our quarries or limestone quarries. All right, so it's that grayish, bluish, typical look to the rock. And it also, so sandstone is another one that we have that's sedimentary, and it can feel gritty or kind of sandy and has a yellowish or reddish color. Then, of course, up north, we have kind of the glacial stuff. So you'll find all kinds of glacial rocks that I'm not as familiar with because I'm a Southern Indiana gal. Love that stuff up there, but sorry, Northerners, I'm not as familiar with your topography up there. So in Indiana, the karst that's at the surface, so there is limestone underneath the surface, even in northern Indiana. It's just so far underneath all that glacial stuff that it's way under the ground. So it's at the surface or very near the surface in kind of the area that I have circled in red. Okay. And then all of these counties do have some kind of limestone or karst or caves. The ones that are in orange, those have the most. So I know Orange County is on the Zoom today, and I'm not sure if we had the other counties that are in orange, but those have lots of caves. And with Harrison County, I believe having the most, I would say 400 to 500 caves. Again, a lot of people don't realize when they think of caves, they think of our commercial caves that we have in Indiana. But I just want you to understand, in these karst areas, they're everywhere. And I know if you live in these areas, you realize that because you can see that across the landscape. A lot of people don't realize that. So yeah, so that's our area of karst. So there's karst around the world. Again, it's a limestone topography. And as you can see, it's all across the United States as well. There are other types of caves. So you go out west, you get lava tube caves, which are also super cool. There are crystal caves. In different parts of the world, there are salt caves. So you do have different types of things making caves, but in Indiana, these are solution caves, limestone solution caves. And really cool thing that basically with that, so basically your limestone rock is it can be sort of eaten by water. Okay, so the acids in the water actually dissolve that limestone rock, and that's what causes our caves to form. So we're not going to go over all these technical or these terms, but we do have, if you would look at a sinkhole or a spring on the surface, underneath there's something else going on, and you never know exactly what's going on. All right, if there is a spring, all right, that water's coming from somewhere. Okay, so anytime you have a karst spring, a limestone spring, that water's coming from somewhere. You may have a huge cave underground that nobody's ever accessed because there's not an opening big enough for people to go into, or that opening is too far underground. So like where we've got this sinkhole throat here, okay, that is, water is going to be going down through that, and over thousands and thousands of years, as that water from the rain and precipitation goes down through that, it just eats away a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more of that limestone. And before you know it, there's passages in there. All right, so these have taken thousands and thousands of years to create. It's very hard to say how many, simply because you got to know how fast the water's traveling. Is it, is it going down? Is it going sideways? So it's very difficult to say, precisely how long it would take for a certain cave to form. But basically, you never know what's going on underground when you're in an area that has limestone topography or karst on the surface or very near the surface. So again, we would call them limestone solution caves. That would be karst, prominent in Indiana. this particular area here, you can kind of see that white stone. Again, that is the limestone. It has a bluish, grayish, or often whitish look to it. And that's just somebody's field. There may or may not be an accessible wild cave under that. Okay. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. I can tell you that there would be folks that would be very interested in trying to find out. All right. So, and you never know what's underneath. This is a sinkhole pond. This is actually in Orange County. And cool thing, another one of our commercial caves, Blue Spring Caverns up in Lawrence County. They have a super cool sort of like origin story. Their whole cave system, which if you've ever been in that cave, it's super cool. I highly recommend it. One day someone's pond collapsed and there's this huge cave system underneath it. So this is a sinkhole pond. You never know what actually lies beneath that, but that water is slowly percolating down. The reason I can tell this is a sinkhole pond. Now up north, you all up north have got glacial kettle holes and things where you know, it holds the water due to the glacial whatever. Sorry, I don't know much about northern Indiana. But here in the southern part of the state where we do have the limestone, I know this is a sinkhole pond because there's no dam. We don't really have a lot of natural lakes in southern Indiana. So as you're driving around and you're looking at lakes, you always see a dam. It's a dammed up valley. Okay, so this is a sinkhole pond. And who knows, there's water percolating very slowly down some cave system, and you really never know basically what's underneath there. So why do we care about that? In the Indiana Karst Conservancy, the thing is, basically all of this stuff works its way down through. So anything on the surface, so when we think about pollution, possibly some dumping, that's not just going in some hole, it's going down into the ground, and it does come out somewhere. So when you have a cave spring, you think, oh, that's this wonderful water that's been underground forever. No, not necessarily. It could, you know, there might be raccoons living in some cave in this system somewhere here, or perhaps in this shaft here, somebody's thrown down a bunch of trash or chemicals or something. So and it's seeping through the ground and coming out at the spring. So you really just never know. So we want to be careful and take care of our caves and karst, because you never really know what's there. This is a friend of mine, John Benton, on the left-hand side, and this is a tiny little hole that he found at Harrison Crawford State Forest. When you go down that hole, there's this beautiful cave. And you would never know that just from looking at that tiny little hole. It's not a very big cave, but it has these wonderful, and I know a lot of us know what these are called. We have stalagmites that come up from the floor, stalactites on the ceiling. We have some flow stone, and it's just beautiful. So you never know what's under there. Unfortunately, we do still have folks that are dumping. So I always throw some of these photos in just to kind of show you that it can be an issue, and we want to help people understand that this is something we need to protect. They're very unique environments. There's things that live there that don't live anywhere else in the world, and we want to keep our water clean as well. So we don't like to see dumping. This is like another sinkhole dump. As you can imagine, it's just insane. So what's this one? So here, this is actually a pit cave, which means you need rope to get down into it. And if you'll look at this gentleman right here, he actually has some vertical gear on, so you can't really see the rope from here. And they actually have a cable ladder coming down here. This is a pit. This was done several years ago, I believe in the 90s. people have been throwing trash down this hole in the ground for many, many years. And as you can see, I mean, this is like probably 20 feet of just trash. I mean, we got doors, all kinds of stuff. And some cavers finally got together and they're like, we're gonna clean out this pit. So they actually, this guy right here, he's got like a feed sack. And so they would actually send feed sacks down and they would fill those up and they would haul them up the rope for the small stuff. The large stuff, they used ropes as well. And they actually cleaned out this entire pit. So just because you throw something down a hole doesn't mean there's not anything down there. And then I just kind of wanted to mention this. This actually happened a couple of years ago in the Indiana Karst Conservancy. So one reason that we really feel like it's important, some people want to not have any cavers go into their caves. You know, there's like, we want to keep it with nobody in it, which is fine. This particular spot is in an area that had been closed down to having cavers come to the scenic caves. And I want to say this was probably in 2023. Somebody just happened to come across it and someone had set up home in this cave. So it's a beautiful spot. There's animals that live in there that may not be anywhere else in the world. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. When you have somebody living in it, you know, you don't know what all was going on there. But that was not found for quite a while, simply because nobody was allowed on that property. So our feeling is give cavers some access to properties to recreate and cave. And cavers are usually very, they're going to report all kinds of incidents, or they're going to notice if there's like a neat new animal that hadn't been noticed there before or something. So that's one thing that we kind of look at with the Indiana Karst Conservancy. So I'm going to go into a few of our preserves. Beth, before I do that, was there any questions that I should cover before I kind of go into like what some different caves look like, wild caves look like?
Hey, I have not seen any questions yet,
Okay,
but
excellent.
yeah, folks can
Okay,
continue to
great.
add if they want to.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Okay. So I'm just going to show a few of the Indiana Karst Conservancy's preserves. And when I say the Indiana Karst Conservancy's preserves, I'm going to show you the caves, inside the caves, give you a really good understanding of what caves look like in Indiana, what these limestone caves look like in Indiana. I know a lot of you guys have been in the commercial caves. They look similar. Commercial caves are usually commercial caves because they're big and fabulous, and you know, so the other caves are also pretty neat. Again, remembering that there are several thousand in Indiana the cavers go into a special gear. We do have our surfaces of our preserves. Some of those have hiking trails, etc., on them, but when I say I'm going to show you a few of our preserves, I'm just going to show you the cave and karst features on those. Okay. So we own the Orangeville Rise, which is in Orange County, and it's the only property we own that doesn't have like a cave access to it, but it's the second largest spring in Indiana. And again, it's part of the Lost River system, which is an amazing, nationally, if not internationally known underground river system, cave systems everywhere that, you know, you can't even, there's some of it you can access. But it's a super cool preserve, and you can see this from the roadside. So if this sounds interesting to you, but it's a beautiful, beautiful little preserve where we just have the sort of blue water Orangeville Rise of the Lost River. This is one of our preserves in Crawford County, and this would be what you would call like a pit cave. This one happens to be called Robinson Ladder, and a lot of times people will use a ladder. This group is using a combination of a ladder and some hand lines. Some people will use vertical gear. which to get into the caves. I'm going to go into, when we get into our resources, I'm going to talk a little bit about if you want to have cavers come to your library, how you could go about asking for them to come and maybe bring some of their gear, that sort of thing. So. And this is again Robinson ladder. So if you use that ladder in the entrance, you can then use it. There's a great big room down there. And then the main rest of the part of the cave, you either have to free climb this, which is very hard, or you carry your ladder over, and the first person has a sort of a wobbly ladder, goes up a wobbly ladder, and then they hold it for the rest of the group. And the rest of the cave is kind of back this way. But it's beautiful room. Indiana bats use this in the wintertime. We're going to talk a little bit more about those. And there are some other pretty formations within this room, but it's a pretty neat cave, and that's in Crawford County. I'll mention, so the way that we have access to our caves, it's for cavers that are experienced folks. And we'll get into that in the resources, like what that means. And I mentioned I was a member of Evansville Metro Grottos. I'm going to talk a little bit about what those are as well. So this is Buddha Cave at our Buddha Karst Nature Preserve. And this is a really pretty nighttime shot. So if you look there down here, that's kind of the cave entrance, and that's somebody standing in it. So you can get kind of an idea of the beauty of that entrance. And actually our Buddha Karst Preserve does have a nature trail on it, and you can actually see that entrance from the nature trail. And inside the cave again, so we've got some stalagmites, and this is a column. Whenever a stalagmite and a stalagmite touch, it's called a column. We've got some flowstone that might be forming some cave bacon. If it's real thin and you can see through it, we call it cave bacon. You have to see that to know exactly what that means. So you can find a really good photo showing cave bacon, or go to one of the commercial caves to see that. And then another preserve of ours, this is a huge walk-in entrance, and that's our Lowry Cave, and it's just a beautiful bluff entrance. And then inside it, some caves are, and especially known in Indiana, full of water and mud, and you got to be very adventurous to want to go into this. This is actually this is me right here in the red helmet, and these are what I call my baby cousins. So my cousin's kids a couple of years ago, and here they're great nature kids. So they are looking, these are actually spiders. Meta ovalis is a specific spider, and it's called ovalis because they make these oval little homes, I guess. But anyway, just slashing through the water. We got a life jacket on the littlest one, just so if the water was a little bit deeper, which it ended up not being. But so caves are very different depending on, some are big, beautiful, full of formation, some are dry, and a lot of the ones in Indiana are wet and muddy with crawling. As you can see, the kids are standing. But again, it just has that beautiful entrance. That's it from the inside, looking out. Just super beautiful. And several of our caves that we own, this is our Sullivan Cave at Sullivan Cave Preserve in Lawrence County. If you look over here and see this is actually the gate into the cave. So some of our caves are gated, and this one in particular, we have two different ones that were gated, and the reason they were gated is there was really awful access. I didn't show in my other pictures of the dumping, but graffiti, in addition to trash left behind, graffiti, and of course we do not ever leave our names or anything in the cave. We practice leave no trace principles. So this allows us to have a little control over the access, making sure that experienced cavers are going in these caves, and not folks that are going to trash them up. And this is our mountain room. So this is just a big, beautiful, you can kind of see how big this area is. So this cave isn't known as much for its formations as for the mountain room. And then it has a big stream inside as well. So. All right. So Beth had kind of mentioned animals, and gosh, there's so many different cool things that live in caves, and you could go, I mean, there's just a lot of neat stuff that, as far as programming wise, that you could go off on tangents with this. You know, bats are really big. So there's a lot of neat stuff that lives in these. I'll cover a couple of them. So we have federally endangered Indiana bats, and yep, they're called Indiana bats because they were first discovered in Indiana. They do live all across the eastern US. Indiana has at least, I think, 30 to 40% of this population of these endangered bats. This is Wyandotte Cave where they were discovered. And I have gotten special permission to go in Wyandotte Cave in the wintertime when they are doing a bat census every other year. So this individual is taking pictures of these bats. Now, what I want you to think about is, and sorry if some of you guys are creeped out by bats. I do understand that, and there will be a picture of a cute little rodent later too. So just forewarning on that. So when you look at this is clusters of Indiana bats. There are several thousand bats clustered in here. Okay, several thousand. And I'm going to show you just a little bit closer up picture. And what this guy is doing is he is taking pictures of them because it's near impossible to count them, which is what they're doing. They're doing a census, a bat count, to see what their population stability is. It's impossible to count all of those bats just by standing there going 1, 2, 3, 4. If you look here, you can kind of see some individuals. Okay, these little guys, when they hibernate, they pack down into these tight little, you know, and they to stay warm, and they're just in this tight little pack. This photo here is showing. So the scientists take pictures of them. And then this one has got every nose has a dot on it. So they go back to the lab. They open up all the pictures, which are numbered, and, you know, went through a scientific process. And then they, on the computer, put a dot on every bat's nose. Used to, they would have to count all of those by hand using the computer, but count all of those by hand once they're back in the lab. Now, there is a computer program that can count those noses for them. Okay. But they still are hand putting those little dots on the noses. So just kind of cool information there. And again, this is all happening in Indiana. And the bats do not use, so this is a little Indiana bat. The bats do not use the caves year round. So that's why we have some caves that are closed in the winter. Wyandotte Cave, which is one of our commercial caves that's owned by the state, is closed in the winter because of all those thousands and thousands. We're talking 30,000 more bats that are hibernating inside that cave in the wintertime. So in the summertime, they make they're out under tree bark and stuff like that. So they like an area that is kind of open. And this here is this was a Facebook post from the Division of Forestry. They found because they saw the bats leaving, they found a maternity colony, which is the moms have babies in the spring, and then all summer they're raising their young. They're mammals, so they have little teats, and I mean they're mammals. So they're raising their young, and they're using the bark under trees and such like that. They want to be warm, but also They want to be, someplace where they can fly away easily, etc. So the sunlight, they can get, a good bit of sunlight, but also have protection. The Division of Forestry, once they started seeing bats coming out from this tree, they think that there were at least 235 bats using this tree right here every night in the summer for their little maternity colony. And then those bats will migrate elsewhere to a cave in the wintertime to hibernate. So that's kind of cool. And we have a really special, if you have been to Twin Caves at Spring Mill State Park in Lawrence County, you may have seen these, or I believe they have cavefish at Blue Spring Caverns, which is also in Lawrence County, the commercial cave in Lawrence County. You may have seen blind cavefish. There are blind cavefish in caves throughout the world, but we have a really special one here in Indiana. Super, super cool. It is called the Hoosier cavefish. And it is only known in 6 counties in the United States. And they're Indiana counties. So it's our cavefish, and it's only in these, it's south of the White River. So it's 6 counties that have karst, that have wet caves, that have streams in them, good quality water. Again, we want to watch what's going in that, because these guys, they only exist in 6 counties in Indiana. So they're pretty cool. And they're only a few inches long. They are obligate to caves. They live in the caves year round all the time. And that's why they have evolved to have no pigment. They have no eyes. And they're in the cave all the time. So they're super cool little critter that we have right here in Indiana. Again, there are cavefish in other areas. A few years ago, this one, they looked at the genetics and they're like, this is different than the one in Kentucky. So we have our own species. So super cool. There are also crayfish that live in the water in the cave that are also blind crayfish. Okay. So they have no pigment, they do not have eyes, and they've evolved to live in the cave. We also see sort of your regular colored crayfish in the cave. There's some that like to live in caves, but they look more brown, like the regular. I always call them surface crayfish, but they said I shouldn't call them that. Because they actually do kind of live in the caves. They're specialized to the caves, but they're just not these blind ones, which are super cool. Again, only a few inches long here. And everyone loves a cave salamander. These guys are the super cutest thing, and they are in our Indiana caves. And they're basically called cave salamanders. So if someone says a cave salamander, that's the common name for this orange guy right here. And they are just, again, few inches long. You'll find them up to several hundred feet back in the caves. They will, insects and other things that are coming inside just that front entrance areas of the caves, that's what they will snack on. So they, they are just cute little guys. And then warning, I think our little rodent is coming up. So if anybody is not a big fan of rodents, that's coming up now. Our Allegheny wood rat. Now, let me tell you, I'm sorry, but I think this little guy is the cutest thing ever. It's called a rat, but these are pack rats, okay? And they are native to Indiana. They are also endangered in Indiana. We used to have them a little bit farther north. Now they're only along the Ohio River area. And we have our non-game mammologist in Indiana, Brad Westridge. He studies them, and we would love for them to kind of work their way back again. They are super cool, and they're small. They're not very big. As a matter of fact, their little tails are as long as or longer than the rest of their body. They are only just a little bit bigger than like a regular mouse. They're not really huge. Like if you think of the Norway rats, or the type that are on grain farms and in cities and stuff. Nothing like those guys at all. I think they're super cute. And they also, of course, have a really special thing about them and just fun programming ideas on just having pack rats, because what they do, this is one of their middens or part of their home. This little fluffy stuff right back here might be where they're going to hang out. They love caves. They're inside cave entrances. And you can again see that kind of grayish white limestone cave that they're in, but they collect things. And this isn't the greatest picture of stuff they've collected, but they will have, you know, this is a piece of flagging tape. They will find little shiny pieces of trash and carry it to their nest. And they just have kind of the neatest, they love the shiny objects. There was a cave that I went in one time where, so this may sound creepy to some people, but when you go in a cave that has a gate, a lot of times you lock yourself in because you don't want somebody that doesn't have access to come in after you. So you lock yourself in. And the big thing about this one cave was like, make sure you have the key hanging in this special spot, because if you just set it next to the entrance gate, a pack rat will run off with it. And it happened before. So they're like, yeah. So anyway, they will just run off with any little shiny object. They're absolutely adorable, really neat, endangered in Indiana. They're not federally endangered, but endangered in Indiana. So super cool guys.
Hey, Carla, I just wanted to give you a quick time check. We've got
Sure.
about 12 minutes.
Oh, okay. I better get moving then. The other cool thing, like Beth said, we probably had dinosaurs in Indiana. Okay, but all of that was just swept away. But we do have some really cool stuff that used to live in caves in Indiana. And you never know when you see that bluff what's there. This particular one in Crawford County, there is just this little black hole. And for over 30 years, scientists in the state have been studying this particular cave. And other caves in Indiana also have the same thing. Okay. These are Ice Age bones. So the story of Peccary Cave is that in the Ice Age, this dire wolf probably lived in the entrance of that cave often. And at one time, this peccary, also an Ice Age animal, came in and was probably going back into the cave, fell into a pit. And the dire wolf was trying to get to the peccary to eat it and could not get out of the pit. So this was just one of the stories that they've found. They've found so many Ice Age bones in this particular cave and in a couple of other caves in Indiana, including Indiana Caverns, which is one of our commercial caves, that there is an entire exhibit at the State Museum on our Ice Age animals, and also on this one cave in particular. So just super cool stuff to think about, that we have those Ice Age stuff in Indiana as well. On to the resources. So I'm just going to go through this kind of quickly since I blathered on a little bit long. I love that the Indiana Geological and Water Survey has discovery trunks. However, they just went through this major move, and they have on their website that their discovery trunks are sort of in a hiatus, but they do have an Ice Age Indiana discovery trunk for loan. Okay, so if you are interested in that, or they have a bunch of other discovery trunks that can be loaned out. If you are interested in looking into that, all of that information is on their website. I would just reach out to them and say, hey, you know, what's the status of these? Because they started going through that move. It said September of 2025. You know, they've had a couple months by now. So I would just reach out directly to them. And I would think, I didn't look into this, but I would think the Indiana State Museum, I believe, used to have discovery trunks of different types of things as well. So that would be a good thing to look into, the Indiana State Museum as well, if you're interested in the Ice Age stuff. All right. So on our webpage, our outreach and education webpage, you just go to our main page, click on education. Here's my contact info, and then here's some resources. Okay, I'm not going to go over those, but just kind of keep that in mind. And on your resources page, all of these links are on that as well. There is a wonderful, what I like to do is kind of learn about what I'm going to be, focusing on when I do programming. And this, even though it's 2008, is an excellent video, half an hour video specific to Indiana on all the life that lives in the caves. So this is a great one for you to watch, just to know a little bit more about what's going on in Indiana caves. Not that you can use it for programming as well, but it's out there, and I do have that link. In 2025, there was just a super excellent documentary, a little bit longer, an hour long, Journey Indiana Underground, done by one of our PBS stations in Bloomington. And several of us actually are on that. So you'll see me in that documentary, but it is super wonderful, and again, specific to Indiana. And then I just kind of wanted to mention the National Speleological Society. They have a few resources, but I wanted to talk about our local caving clubs. If you go to that NSS site, again, on your resource, and select a state, it will come up with all the grottos or caving clubs in Indiana. That's where you're going to find your local cavers that might come bring some gear. Depending on, these are recreational clubs, so you may or may not get folks. Please reach out to me if just because there's not one in your area. These folks live all over the place, so just pick the one that's closest to your area. And if you're not getting any response from them, feel free to reach out to me, and I might be able to give you some resources on that. Again, the NSS recreation page. So this is really cool. This is Dave Bunnell's. He's an excellent photographer. This is his virtual cave. So you click on Solution Cave. He's got one for lava caves, everything else. And then it's interactive. You click on dripping water, and you get a bunch of cool photos of dripping water in the cave. You click on column, and you get a bunch of photos of just like photographs he's taken of columns. Click on helictites, and that's a super cool formation that grows in caves. So this is a super neat thing as well. There's some great ideas on this Caves Live lesson plans. I did not come up with a book list for you guys simply because some of these places have got great book lists on them. So you guys know how to find appropriate books. So I did not come up with a book list for you. Indiana's commercial caves. Don't forget to use them as resources. They have educators and interpreters. They may have staff that will visit. They are commercial, privately owned caves, so they will probably charge you for this, but they may have some resources and stuff that you can use as well. So do not, feel like you shouldn't reach out to them. And then if you're doing programming, consider them for prizes, tour tickets, gift cards, etc. They may give you some, but again, let's support our commercial caves. And if you've got a little funding to purchase some prizes and stuff like that for your programming, that might be something cool to do as well. So just kind of keep that in mind. There's 5 commercial caves in Indiana. 4 of them are private. 1 is owned by the state. So you're gonna have better luck with the 4 privately owned ones reaching out to them. Just simply because the state has got so many other things going on. Project Underground. This is an awesome resource. However, there are no facilitators in Indiana. It's like the Project WET, Project Learning Trees. Some of you guys are probably familiar with these curriculum things. There are currently no facilitators in Indiana, so that would be a really neat, there's just really neat curriculum stuff. However, what you'll find is a lot of stuff where it's based on Project Underground. So if you start looking Project Underground caving, you'll find that stuff. There is this barefoot cave that is like gym size. You make this cave out of plastic that's inflated with a fan and put formations and stuff in it. Super cool. I've provided information on that for you. Make your own bat cave. I'm providing information for that as well, where you can make it out of a tent and put your own formations and stuff in it. And then some more teacher resources here, National Cave and Karst Research Institute. And I love like going on these little looking at resources stuff. So I just eventually have to stop. And thank you so much. And I really hope that I've given you some good ideas, things that you can focus on, and some wonderful resources that you can just plow away. Feel free to contact me, share with me, tag us if you can, if you do a program. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Carla, for being here and sharing all this information with us. I know I feel like I got to learn about a whole interesting topic that I wouldn't necessarily normally get to do in my job. So yay for Unearth a Story for giving us an excuse to having you. The only question that I had seen, someone thought that you had maybe mentioned a program idea regarding the pack rats. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, I do not have a program regarding pack rats. I think I just said that I could see that being like a neat way to go with a program. And honestly, all of this, there's so much out there that I'm sure that there is something out there that is appropriate if you just Google a little bit. And what my hope was is to kind of give you ideas on what's appropriate, because not everything you find out there is appropriate. We want to make sure that we're doing leave no trace type stuff, that we're doing appropriate caving related programming. And by providing some of these resources that and showing you some of this stuff, that should kind of help you kind of go forward with some ideas of your own. So yeah, I did not have a specific program on the pack routes, but I want to see that program if you come up with it.
I'm sure we have some creative folks here who will run with ideas like that. So everyone, I have put the LU request form in the chat. Again, if you're watching this as a recording, you'll need to have someone in your administration create a certificate for you. But if you're here today, please fill that out and I will send out resources, slides, and your LEU certificate here probably in the next 24 hours to 48 hours or so. All right, thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to stop the recording.